Okay. Good afternoon, Quadcopter 101 here, and I have for you today a review of another neat quadcopter. This is the Huajun, or if I'm mispronouncing it, it's Huajun W606 5.8 gigahertz FPV flyer. Now, if you look at this, you've probably never seen a quadcopter that looks like this before. This is a pretty cool looking quadcopter, and it has a lot of lights on it. A lot of lights that are inside here that show up at night on these booms here. So this actually is a great night flyer also. But what this actually is got that is starting to come out this year is also this has altitude hold. In other words, this quadcopter can maintain its altitude while it's flying automatically. You don't have to adjust for it. And the reason being, it helps to fly with FPV. And this quadcopter also has 5.8 gigahertz FPV to help it flying. So in effect, you have an altitude hold FPV flyer, similar to the JXD 509G, except this one's a lot bigger than the JXD 509G. It's so big that actually this can, if you wish, you could probably attach a, what am I trying to say? Red cam or Mobius size camera to this. I wouldn't go with a GoPro style camera, but the Run Cam and the Mobius can fit on this or can be lifted by this quadcopter. And the reason being, this is similar to the V262 quadcopters, the larger brushed quadcopters. This has larger brushed motors, enabling it to lift larger cameras than the simple 808 keychain camera. Other things about this quadcopter, its camera. Here, let me put down its transmitter for now. I'll go over the transmitter here in a bit. But it has an on-off switch. It has a 7.4 volt. Now it's listed as 1800 milliampere on it, but actually it looks to me like it's two 3.7 volt 900 milliampere hours that have been pancaked together. So it's probably more accurate to say that it may be a 7.4 volt 900 milliampere hour battery in there. It has an SD card slot to record video from its camera, and here is its camera. It's located right here on the front of the quadcopter. Unfortunately, it appears that the camera's angle is pointing downward at about close to about 60 degrees. So it's mainly, with this, you are going to be seeing the ground. So how do you fly FPV with a camera pointed at the ground? Well, very carefully. In effect, the FPV system on this camera is mainly for aiming the camera, pointing at your, say if you want to get a selfie of yourself from the air, and ensure that it's pointing at you, you can use the screen, a 5.8 gigahertz screen, to aim it toward yourself. So, and let's talk about that screen. Here is the screen. I just thought about it. You could also potentially fly FPV if you have a reference on the ground, such as a road to follow. But that's about the only way you're going to be able to do it with this downward pointed camera. But let's go over the transmitter now. This is the controller transmitter for it. Now this quadcopter has features, and I'm going to go over the features based on the transmitter here. First off, if you want to record a video, also notice this, there's an SD card on this slot that's on the side of the FPV receiver. It's inoperative. I believe this SD card slot is mainly for uploading the software that's used by this screen. This screen has software that enables you to change the brightness of it. There's some other features that you can change on it. Nothing really of note that I'm going to go over in this review here, other than the big one is the brightness that you're able to change with that screen. This menu's on the screen. If you want to take a photo, there's a button on the back here. You take a quick press of this button here, and it'll take a photo with the quadcopter's camera. If you want to take a video, you hold this button down for about 2 seconds till you hear a beep, and it'll take a video. Right side button, not sure what the quick press does. I believe it probably turns the lights on and off. I'll confirm that tonight when I do night flying. But a long press of this button initiates automatic takeoff of the quadcopter, where the quadcopter will automatically rise into the air. And another long press of this button will initiate automatic landing of the quadcopter, where the quadcopter will land. Both of these, of course, if you're doing that, are in in altitude hold mode. The quadcopter will take off and go a few feet above the ground and try to maintain altitude. If you use this button and you take off into the air, to adjust the altitude once you are in the air, you have to use the throttle trim button to increase altitude or reduce altitude. When not in altitude hold mode, this button changes between rates by pushing down on it, beginner and intermediate rate. One thing, when you are in altitude hold mode, the throttle control becomes inoperative. So you got to be careful with altitude hold mode, because you won't be able to adjust altitude using throttle. Once you have the altitude set, this becomes inoperative, and you can adjust it a little bit with the trim button here. But I prefer using altitude hold by first setting an altitude with the throttle, taking off normally, and once you are at altitude that you want to set, you press this button. Excuse me, sorry. But press this button and it will set that altitude where it's at as the altitude that the quadcopter will hold. And again, once you press this button, this throttle control becomes inoperative. When you come out of altitude hold, you have to do so very carefully. Make sure you have some throttle on it, because once you press this button once more to turn off altitude hold, the quadcopter, the throttle will once again become operative. So if you have this throttle turned off and you press that button once more and it comes out of altitude hold, that quadcopter is going to drop like a rock until you give it some throttle. So be very careful. This button here is for activating flips, and this switch up here, if it's in the up position, the quadcopter is going to be in normal flight, and if you press it down in this position, it enters one key return and headless mode. Excuse me again. There is another switch on this. Yeah, it's two position switch. There is another inoperative switch in the upper left corner. It's, I believe, for future implementation of future features on this quadcopter. Right now it's inoperative, and they have a fake switch up here. Don't try to press this switch, you'll break it. You'll break the transmitter, but it's not usable, this switch up here. So that's about it, folks. Let's go for a flight of this thing and demonstrate its ability. I'm going to put on my FPV screen onto this FPV screen, my sunscreen, with its recorder, so you'll be able to see the FPV view from this quadcopter. Hope you enjoy this flight. Okay, the quadcopter is turned on. Turning on the transmitter, binding the quadcopter with an up and down, and we're bound. Let me turn on the screen on the FPV screen. You do so by pressing down that power button on it, holding it down. FPV screen is on, and attaching my sunshade screen, adjusting such. Okay, we're recording there, and turning on or activating record on the video camera by pressing this button down and holding it for 2 seconds, verifying that we are recording. And I don't see verification. Let me try it again. Now we are recording. See verification. Excuse me again, folks. Got something in my throat today. Okay, we're going to do an automatic takeoff by pressing the one key or automatic takeoff button. I held it down for 2 seconds, and this is what it does. Now give it some upward trim to get an altitude, and adjust the trim on it. Let's go over to it. Actually, just bring it toward us. But here it is in altitude hold mode, folks. I have a bit of a wind today. Let me trim it up a bit. Okay. Now notice, the throttle is no longer operative. Here's full throttle, see, nothing's happening. So, the altitude hold is working. Let's take it up a little bit higher. Give it an upward trim. And we'll fly it around the area using altitude hold. Let's bring it over my position here so you can see me. And we are in altitude hold now. Let's bring it over again. I am not adjusting its altitude. It's doing it itself. Okay? Now, I don't like takeoff, automatic takeoff altitude hold, because if I want to go up higher, I'm going to have to keep pressing that trim button to get it back up high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to land it again, folks. Let's point it back toward me. And to land it, you press that button again. Hold it down. 2 seconds. And it comes down pretty fast, so be careful. See, I don't like the automatic landing either. Okay. I pressed that button again. Hold on a second, folks. Automatic landing. Okay, good. So, I just wanted to demonstrate that. Let me check to see if this turns lights on and off. No. The quick press does not seem to turn those lights on and off. I'm just curious what that button does if you press it for a long time. Now, what I like to do is take off normally. And then once I'm in the air at an altitude I like, press that altitude hold feature. Let's go up higher and higher and higher. Right about there. And press altitude hold. Now notice, I got the throttle turned off. It's staying up there. So that's the way I prefer to do it, and that's the way I recommend you all do it. Let me see if I can see myself here in the video. Oh, there I am. So the FPV is working. Let's see if I fly over again and see myself again. Okay, can I fly FPV with this? Well, let me find the road. I see bushes. I'm looking in the screen here, folks. There's the road. Let's see if I can fly it back toward me. I see the road below. There I am. That's the only way you can do it, folks, is if you got a ground reference point to fly the quadcopter to. Otherwise, you're just seeing the ground. Whoa, up there with a downward pointed camera. But again, you know, I think that's the idea of this feature. This quadcopter is meant to take selfies of yourself on the ground, and then you use aim the camera using the FPV screen. Okay, what have we demonstrated yet? I'm going to come out of altitude hold. Now, let me show you how to land this thing by turning off the altitude hold. Let me bring it in closer. You got to be careful. You got to have some throttle on this quadcopter once you turn it off. Otherwise, it'll drop like a rock. Turning off altitude hold. See? So, gave it some throttle. Put some throttle on it before you land, before you turn off altitude hold. Otherwise, it will drop. Now, what else haven't we demonstrated yet? Let's fly normally now and go to higher rate. Okay, we are in low rate. Let's go to high rate, and you press down on this throttle trim button, and now we are in high rate. Let's see how this thing flies in high rate. Well, yeah. Reminds me of a little bit of a V262. The yaw rate isn't too great, though. You know, it's not fantastic yaw rate. And it's not meant to be. It's a camera bird, you know. It's supposed to be a camera bird. But interesting looking camera bird. How about flips? Let's press that flip button. I don't want to flip now. I probably ran out of power for flips. How about one key return? Let's take it out and press this one key return button. And there it goes, doing one key return. It's in headless mode now. Which way? I lost control. Landing it because I don't know which way headless mode is. It's in headless mode right now. And I don't know which way the bearing was set for headless mode. Let me go over to it. We'll try a headless mode flight now. Now, you can reset the gyros on this quadcopter by pushing down and to the left. And I am going to do such. And also, I am going to stop the video recording for a second because I got enough video to show what the camera can do on this, and I want to save battery power. So we got the video turned off. And hold on, folks. I'm going to come back over here and restart the quadcopter. Quadcopter 101 back again. Now for this flight, I took off the screen here. I'm not going to use the power from this screen here. I want to save battery power primarily for range issues. Make sure I get full range on this quadcopter. But I am in headless mode right now. We're going to take off in headless mode. I have the switch down in this position here, binding the quadcopter, pushing forward. See if it's in headless mode. Yeah. No, I guess it's not in headless mode. With the switch down. I guess I'm wrong. Now the reason I'm wrong, folks, is this quadcopter seems to be a prototype or an early release model, and I didn't get instructions, so I don't know what this key here is for. This pushing it down in this position seems to do a one key return, but right now, with taking off with it on, it seems to have no effect. Let me go in the other position now. Still with no effect. Let me go over here, activate it again. It's not doing anything. So I'm not sure what it's for, folks. It does have headless mode. I'm really just not sure how to activate it. Let me try pressing one of these other buttons here. No. That's the camera. I know that. And how about a long pressing that button? Yeah. So I'm sorry, folks. I don't know how to activate the headless mode on this. I would like to demonstrate that, but it's not going to happen. Let me land it again, and we're going to take off. Well, let's try that altitude hold. Let's set it up again. Pressing altitude hold right there. I want that altitude there. Now I got a breeze coming from my... Oh, did you hear that? This beeps. Once you reach low voltage, this will give you a beeping warning. I just heard the beeper. And that means I should be landing it soon, which is cool. That's a feature that I forgot to mention that this quadcopter has, is that it gives you a low voltage warning on your receiver. It transmits... the quadcopter apparently transmits over the FPV signal that you are reaching low voltage. So it's not on screen display, but it's a form of telemetry to let you know that the battery is getting weak. We'll see how much flight time we get out of it before the quadcopter actually drops though. So I'll continue flying it. Let's go to a higher rate. I got a high-flying jet going over us here. I'm going to let him go by. It's going to make a lot of noise, though, but I don't care. He's up there at 10,000 feet. But we're still going to hear him. And we're still in altitude hold mode. You know, I haven't touched the altitude on this thing since taking off. It's doing a good job maintaining altitude. I guess that wasn't the low voltage warning that I heard, that beep there. But it does do it. Sometimes. Okay, maybe there we go. That was right. There we go. And that was it. That's the amount of flight time you get out of it. And it gives you significant warning through, I believe the beep came out of this thing. I'm not sure. But I definitely heard the beep. And I heard it before when flying at home. So it gives you a low voltage warning beep. You get just one warning, so if you hear it, heed the warning and start bringing it in close. Notice that it doesn't drop from the sky, though, automatically when you reach voltage. It gradually descends and lands itself. So that's good also. So that's the flight of the W606. Unfortunately, I was not able to demonstrate flips, either because I had too low voltage to do flips. And you don't want to do flips anyways with these larger quadcopters. It hurts the motors, and I wasn't able to demonstrate headless mode, or I kind of demonstrated one key return, but I couldn't get it back out of the one key return after it went by. So other than that, that's the W606. Hope you enjoyed this flight. I'll try to do a night flight to show you these lights tonight. Let's go do it, in fact. I'm getting back in the car. I got to recharge this. I'll see you later. Night flying, W606. Very bright lights. Let's go to a higher rate. Easy to maintain orientation with those white lights in the front. Okay. That's enough to show what it can do. It's the W606. Hope you enjoyed the flight.